So guys, although Superman and Lois has recently concluded with its fourth and final season, marking an end to DC TV in the CW, news regarding the show does not end over here. As in today's video, we will be going over this very interesting quote from the showrunner himself, Todd Helbing, talking about an alternate ending to the show that they would have done if the show was to get more seasons. And Todd Helbing over here does talk about the fact that he could have used some certain villains if the show was to get some more seasons as well. And this is really interesting, so let's just talk about it. So this was during an interview by TV Line, and I just want to specifically go over this quote where he talks about like if they were to get more seasons and the villains he would have used, because pretty much everything else has got to do with the finale, which was last week. So I don't really feel the need to go over those stuff because, as I said, this is pretty much the main topic for this video. So Todd Helbing says, if we went on for a couple of more seasons, we would have really explored Brainiac. We would have done more cool traditional Brainiac stuff with him. There's also a way to lead up to Darkseid that we talked about. I don't know if DC would have given us the permission to use Darkseid, but we would have pitched the hell out of it and tried to get it. That would have been a lot of fun. And indeed, this would have been really fun, because a DC fan reading this, like, it would just get you very excited. Like, it would get you so bummed that a show like this ended, because this show could have had more seasons. It could have. And obviously, I'll talk about this later on in regards to, like, we already know, but I'll obviously talk about why we ended where we did. But like I said, talking about Darkseid and Brainiac, this is really cool, as these are two very big villains that they could have used if the show was to get more seasons, and you know, if they were to get the rights for these characters. Like, if we look at the past villains we've had on the show, we've had Bruno Mannheim, we've had Morgan Edge, which to be fair are not really that big, as they are that, like, the show used them as main villains. But of course, in terms of Morgan Edge, they of course did a very different take on him in the show. But like, we did also get villains like Doomsday and Lex Luthor, two of Superman's biggest villains. And like Lex Luthor, fair enough, like we've had Lex Luthor in DC TV before, but seeing a villain like Doomsday was something that you wouldn't really expect, and the fact that they got the rights to that, like, I think is really cool. So the fact that if we were to get more seasons, I wouldn't say that it would have been impossible for us to get Brainiac or even Darkseid. Now, like, especially for Brainiac itself, we pretty much did technically already get him in the form of Milton Fine this season, so it would have been pretty easy for him to possibly be the main villain of season 5. Now, Milton Fine was, of course, now this is in the comics, he is a superhuman with psychic powers, and he's pretty much like a sideshow mentalist calling himself the Amazing Brainiac. And in the post-crisis era, he was possessed by Brainiac's disembodied mind, and he was pretty much used as a vessel to kill Superman. So they could have done something along the lines over here with the character leading up to season 5. Like, if we were to get season 5, they could have done something like this for Milton Fine. Now, of course, in Superman and Lois, this was quite changed. Like, Milton Fine was mentioned quite often, and Lex had him, of course, build a case to hold Superman's heart after the Doomsday fight. And of course, later on, we did see him do stuff like he hacked Lana Lang's home security, and, like, you know, he tried an assassination attempt, and he did stuff but like trying to track down Lex's daughter, like all that stuff. Like, he did do the street lights, and he turned it like red kryptonite, so you know, Lex was able to pretty much fight Kal-El in a fair fight. So like, we did get Milton Fine on this show. And if we were to get season 5, the fact that Todd Helbing said that we could have explored more of the traditional Brainiac, and we could have like led up to the route of Brainiac for season 5 using Milton Fine, I think that would have been really cool. Now, heading on to Darkseid. Now, this one would have been much harder to do, as he is more so a Justice League level threat, not specifically just Superman. Now, just a quick summary for those who are not aware of Darkseid. Darkseid is pretty much the most powerful villain in the DC universe. He is one of, if not the most powerful villains in the DC universe. He's coming from a planet called Apocalypse, and he's obsessed with something called the anti-life equation, and that's pretty much like dominate all of life itself. Like, he pretty much becomes like an ultimate like OP, like undefeatable guy with the anti-life equation. Like the anti-life equation is what makes him one of the most powerful villains in all of DC itself, and obviously he is the most powerful villains as well. But it would have been interesting to see how Superman and Lois could have tackled a villain like Darkseid, because of how like very very powerful he is. Like he wouldn't really be something that Superman can face off against just on his own. So I am thinking if this was to happen, it could have been a Darkseid either without the anti-life equation, or he just would have been super super nerfed, which I can't lie wouldn't really give the character that much justice. Either they would have made Superman like really 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 like on crack level OP, or like they would have really nerfed Darkseid. I don't know what they could have done over here, but like it wouldn't really sit right for the fans for them to nerf like a big villain like Darkseid to just be a villain for Superman. So this one would have been much harder, as he is pretty much a crossover level threat, not really specifically just a Superman level threat for him to like deal with his own, and especially like the people Superman has with him, I wouldn't say is enough no way near enough to face off against Darkseid. But it would have been really really cool. Now, would they have been able to get the rights to this character? I'm not sure. Like Brainiac would have been more possible than Darkseid over here, but like I said, this as like a final main villain of the season would have been really cool. Like having an alternate ending with Darkseid as the main villain of the show would have been something really really cool. But like I said, this would be more so like a crossover level threat if Superman and Lois was to do some sort of crossover. But it would be much harder for them to be able to do Superman versus Darkseid for like a season-long storyline. It would have been very very hard, unless, like I said, it's without anti-life equation, or if he is very nerfed. Now, although these two villains could have been a very good way to end the show, I think what the show did was the best way they could have ended the show, in my opinion. Like the show had such a perfect ending to the show, and they did also use the perfect villains that they could have used. Like they've already used two of like one of the biggest Superman villains they could have done, Doomsday and Lex Luthor. So pretty much not really getting Darkseid or Brainiac or anything like that. Yes, it would have been very cool to have them. It doesn't really make you that fussed, because the show did what they did best, and the show did give us a very very strong fourth and final season with two of the best villains they could have used, Doomsday and Lex Luthor. Now, of course, why didn't this show get more seasons? We already know about this anyways. Like, it's got to do with the changes that's been going on with DC ever since James Gunn took control, and of course the changes that's been going on with the CW as well. Like, we literally had all the DC shows pretty much get cancelled all at once, except for Superman and Lois, which was given the opportunity to end in their own terms, which of course, compared to the other DC TV shows, they full on got cancelled, where Superman and Lois didn't. So we should just be grateful for that alone. But yeah, all of this still is some very very cool stuff, although like it's not going to change anything. We're not going to get more seasons or anything like that. Like, we already have the show that's concluded. Still hearing like these ideas from the showrunners itself, it is some like really cool things, as it does show the creative process behind it. Like, they're thinking ahead for future seasons and what they could have done. Now, of course, things would have been tackled more differently if season 4 was not the final season. Maybe they could have done more of like a cliffhanger type thing, and like full on actually set up Brainiac going into season 5, in the hypothetical scenario that this show was not given the ability to end in its own terms, and that like if it was able to just continue and have more seasons, because this show was more than enough to continue. It had the viewerships, it had the ratings and everything for it, but unfortunately it's just got to do with the changes that's been going on with DC and the changes that was going on with the CW at that time as well. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all of this as well. I'm interested to see all of your thoughts towards all of this. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.